So here's another one of those diseases that comes from defective genes. In pleiotropy, this is what occurs when we have gene influences on multiple traits. So one gene influencing multiple traits. So in this case, we talk about sickle cell anemia. So somebody that has sickle cell anemia has blood cells that are not the proper disc-shaped. So instead of having blood cells that look like little donuts, they have sickle-celled blood cells, so that are shaped in the crescent roll shape. And it affects the red blood cells' ability to deliver oxygen, and it causes those red blood cells to be inhospitable to malarial parasites. So imagine that if you have sickle cell anemia, that you're not capable of getting malaria. And so in a place where malaria is very common, having this disease is actually something that would help you to be able to survive, because malaria kills millions and millions of people every year. And so having almost sickle cell anemia could help you be malarial resistant, which, if you can survive malaria and everyone around you is dying, you're going to be the only one who's able to survive and go on to reproduce and pass your traits on to your offspring. So in this case, almost having sickle cell disease is a benefit to being able to survive. So in pleiotropy, we ask ourselves, how can one gene influence multiple traits? How can this one gene or one set of genes influence multiple traits? And we talked a little bit about it last time. Oh, I didn't put my picture in the right place. I'll come up to it. In the SRY gene, and this is something that's studied here at the University of Akron, they actually have labs that study the sex-determining region of the Y chromosome. So the thing that makes males male. What it does is it causes fetal gonads to develop as testes shortly after fertilization. So what actually is happening is that everyone is female within the womb until they get this hormone that flushes over them and makes them develop testes instead of continuing on to have the female parts. So after the gonad secretion of testosterone, then we start to have male being swung into full swing. And so this affects a lot of developmental changes. And one of those developmental changes is the way that the rods and the cones are developed within the eye. So one of the reasons why more men are colorblind than women is because it's expressed differently in males. And so if you look at this picture, if you're a female, it's very likely that you would be able to read all of the numbers and letters that are in there. And if you're a male, you may be thinking, well, what exactly is it that I'm looking at? And so they are kind of hard to tell the difference between, but if you had an eye exam as a kid, then you probably know whether or not you have color blindness. And it kind of goes along with the societal message that women should be dressing everyone because they can tell the colors better than the guys can. But this is something that is determined by your genetics, whether or not you're colorblind. And so if a man is colorblind, did he get that condition from his mother, from his father, or from both parents? What do you think? Okay, so men only have one chance to inherit the normal version of the gene, because if they have an XX, they're a female. If you have XY, you're a male. And so on that X has to be the gene to be able to determine those colors, because if you don't have an extra X there to make up for it, if you are male, then you had to have gotten that from your father. So this is a sex-linked trait. A sex-linked trait is carried on the X chromosome. Women have 2 copies of the X chromosome, while men have an X and a Y. And so in order to be colorblind, if you look at the picture right here, this colorblind male, we've got the X that came from the mother, and it's got the colorblindness gene right there on the little R. and we've got a Y coming from the father. So the male must inherit color blindness alleles from his mother. So the mother has to be able to pass that along, because in order to have normal vision, you had to have gotten that allele from your mother, because your mother either has, if she had both little r's, then she would be colorblind as well. But before, when we had talked about sometimes we have those alleles that are lurking around in the background that are recessive. So if you're a female, you can inherit normal being able to see color from either your mother or from your father. If you're a male, though, you only have one chance, and that's only on that X chromosome. So in order to have normal vision, you had to have gotten the normal vision allele from your mother if you're a guy. So talking about environmental effects on our genes, most people think that identical twins are essentially the same because they have the same DNA. But what you have to realize is, by the fact that they've got two separate bodies, they're experiencing the environment in very different ways. So identical twins are not always exactly identical.